Lust is something almost everyone struggles with, but very few want to talk about openly. It's not just about sex. It's about how easily we can become controlled by our own desires, how we give in to impulses, even when we know it's hurting our focus, our relationships, and sometimes our self-worth. You don't have to be addicted to feel the weight of it. Maybe it's the constant need for attention. Maybe it's the scrolling, the fantasies, the small compromises you make with yourself. And maybe, deep down, you're tired of it. Tired of feeling like something else is controlling you. This video isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. It's about taking back your energy, your clarity, and your self-control. Because lust isn't just a feeling, it's a habit. And habits can be broken. You're not weak. You're human. And the fact that you want to take control already means you're stronger than you think. Before you can take control of something, you have to admit that it has control over you. And lust often doesn't announce itself loudly. It creeps in quietly, disguised as curiosity, boredom, or stress relief. It begins with small choices: a scroll too long on social media, a video you didn't plan to watch, a thought you allowed to linger. Over time, these little moments start to build a pattern, and the pattern builds a craving. You find yourself thinking about it more often, needing it to feel stimulated, or using it as an escape when you're lonely or overwhelmed. Lust hijacks your mind, not just sexually, but mentally and emotionally. The scary part, it doesn't always feel wrong at first. It feels normal. That's why awareness is everything. If you don't realize how much of your time, focus, and peace is being eaten away by lust, you'll keep giving it power without even noticing. So the first step is brutal honesty with yourself. When, where, and why does lust show up in your life? What void is it trying to fill? What are you avoiding that lust is helping you escape? The more honest your answers, the more clarity you'll gain. And that's where transformation begins. We live in a culture that glorifies lust. It's in our music, our movies, our phones. It's been normalized, even celebrated. So we tell ourselves, it's harmless. Everyone does it. It's not that deep. But the truth is, repeated indulgence, no matter how small, slowly rewires your brain. It changes how you see others. You stop looking at people as whole human beings and start seeing them as objects of fantasy. It changes how you see yourself, feeding feelings of guilt, shame, or emptiness after the pleasure fades. And over time, it trains your mind to chase short-term gratification instead of long-term fulfillment. This isn't about moral judgment. It's about mental freedom. When your thoughts are always tied to fantasy or desire, you lose presence. You stop showing up fully in your relationships. You stop working with full focus. You settle for momentary pleasure and miss out on deeper purpose. The myth is that you can control it while still feeding it, but you can't out-discipline something you keep entertaining. Real control doesn't come from suppression. It comes from redirection. You can't just stop lust. You have to replace it with something more meaningful. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Here's the truth no one tells you. Lust isn't always about sex. Sometimes it's about wanting to feel wanted. Sometimes it's about numbing your emotions. And sometimes it's just a response to loneliness, stress, anxiety, or the need for control. Behind every lustful urge is a deeper hunger. The hunger to feel seen, the hunger to feel powerful, the hunger to escape reality for a few moments. But the problem is, lust doesn't satisfy that hunger. It distracts you from it. It gives you a momentary fix, and then leaves you emptier than before. So pause and ask yourself, what am I really chasing when I give in? Is it affection, validation, a sense of relief? Because once you start identifying the emotional need underneath the desire, you can start finding healthier ways to meet that need. If it's connection, start opening up to real people. If it's stress, start journaling, meditating, or hitting the gym. If it's low self-worth, start feeding your mind with truth, not fantasy. You can't fight lust with shame. You fight it by giving yourself what you actually need, not what your impulses pretend you want. This is how you begin to break free. Lust doesn't live in your body. It lives in your mind. And the battle is won or lost in the thoughts you allow to linger. That quick image, that fantasy, that trigger you didn't scroll past. They seem small, but they plant seeds. And when you water those seeds by thinking about them, entertaining them, and replaying them, you grow the very thing you're trying to get rid of. The good news is, your mind can be trained. Discipline isn't about never being tempted. It's about how you respond to the temptation. When a lustful thought enters your mind, you don't have to argue with it. You don't have to hate yourself for it. You just need to shift your focus. Think of it like a muscle. The first time you resist, it's hard. The second time, still hard. But the more you train yourself to not feed that thought, the weaker it becomes. You begin to break the mental loop. You build resilience. Lust grows in the silence of unchecked thoughts. So speak to your mind. Fill it with purpose. Feed it with truth. And remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who gets to choose what to do with them. When you're constantly giving in to lust, little by little, you lose trust in yourself. You start breaking promises to yourself. Just this one last time, I'll stop tomorrow. It doesn't really affect me. And after enough broken promises, you begin to feel like you're not in control anymore. That's where shame grows. That's where the inner conflict deepens. But healing doesn't start with guilt. It starts with compassion. You have to realize you're not broken. You're human. And like every human, you're dealing with a mind that craves ease, comfort, and pleasure. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you normal. The problem begins when we allow those cravings to define us. So now, it's time to reconnect with the version of you that keeps getting buried under all the noise. The one who wants to be focused, peaceful, respected, and in control. That version of you still exists, but you have to rebuild a relationship with yourself. Start by keeping small promises, not huge, overwhelming goals, just one choice at a time. Every time you say no to the impulse, you say yes to your strength. Every time you sit with discomfort instead of running from it, you build trust, and that trust turns into self-respect. And when you respect yourself, you naturally protect yourself from anything that tries to devalue you, including lust. Let's talk about pleasure, because this is where a lot of people get stuck. We've been conditioned to believe that pleasure is about indulgence, about doing what feels good in the moment. But that kind of pleasure, it's shallow, it's temporary, and too often, it leaves you feeling worse afterward. Real pleasure is something deeper. It's peace of mind. It's knowing you're aligned with your values. It's the quiet confidence that you're no longer enslaved by your urges, that you're choosing what's good for you, even when it's hard. The world will always tempt you with cheap pleasure. Lust is easy to sell because it's easy to consume. But what's rare is the person who chooses self-mastery over self-indulgence, the one who rewrites the definition of pleasure, not as a momentary escape, but as long-term fulfillment. So ask yourself, what kind of life are you building? One where you're constantly chasing the next high, or one where you wake up feeling clear, free, and proud of the person you're becoming? You get to choose, and that choice made daily is what separates those who stay stuck from those who rise above. Here's something most people overlook. Your environment shapes your desires. It's not just about willpower. It's about what you surround yourself with, what you see, hear, and interact with daily. You can't expect to overcome lust while swimming in triggers. Every scroll through social media, every late-night movie, every click, every conversation, it all adds up. It creates an atmosphere. And if your atmosphere constantly feeds your impulses, then lust isn't just a temptation. It becomes a lifestyle. So here's the question. What are you allowing into your space? It's not about living in a bubble or being extreme. It's about curating your world to support the life you say you want. That might mean unfollowing accounts that make you stumble. That might mean deleting apps, limiting time online, or being honest with your friends about your boundaries. When you take control of your environment, you take back power, because every temptation you remove makes room for clarity. And with clarity, you begin to notice something important. You weren't weak, you were just overloaded. Create space, silence the noise, and suddenly, the battle that felt impossible becomes manageable. Your environment can either elevate you or enslave you, so choose wisely. Lust often thrives in the absence of purpose. When your life lacks direction, excitement, or meaning, lust steps in to fill the void. It becomes the distraction, the reward, the emotional bandage. But you weren't created just to chase fleeting pleasures. You are meant to build something real. And the more purpose you have, the less space lust has to live. So ask yourself, what are you here to do? What excites you? What gifts have you buried under shame, comparison, and comfort? Because when you wake up with purpose, your energy shifts. You stop seeking quick highs and start chasing deep fulfillment. Start small. Maybe it's working on your health. Maybe it's building a business, learning a craft, serving others, or diving deeper into your faith. Whatever it is, pour your energy into it like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Lust wants your time, your mind, your peace. Purpose reclaims all of that and more. You don't beat lust by fighting it every second. You beat it by being too busy building something beautiful to look back. Lust often disguises itself as connection. It comes with intensity, urgency, and a kind of emotional thrill that feels like something meaningful. But the truth is, lust is hollow. It's a transaction pretending to be intimacy. Think about it. How many times have you chased that feeling, only to feel lonelier afterward? That's because lust doesn't see you. It only wants to use a part of you. It doesn't care about your story, your soul, your pain, or your dreams. It doesn't comfort. It doesn't stay. It just leaves you needing another fix. The world glorifies lust because it's easy. It gives you the illusion of love without the work. But that illusion comes at a cost. Your peace, your clarity, your emotional wholeness. Real connection takes time. It requires you to show up with vulnerability to be seen and to see others fully. But when you choose connection over craving, you build something lasting, a bond that doesn't fade in the morning light. So the next time lust whispers in your ear, ask yourself, do I want to be distracted or do I want to be deeply known? Overcoming lust isn't just about avoiding temptation. It's about becoming someone new, someone stronger, someone deeper. And that process isn't overnight. It's not a quick fix. It's a transformation, one decision at a time. You don't just stop bad habits. You replace them. You build new thoughts, new rhythms, new forms of joy. You start believing, little by little, that you are more than your urges. And it's hard. You'll fall. You'll relapse. You'll doubt yourself. But don't let failure define you. Let it remind you that you're human. And humans are meant to grow. When you say no to lust, you're not just saying no to desire. You're saying yes to a higher version of you. The version that loves with depth, that thinks clearly, that walks with integrity. The version that isn't controlled by the body, but led by vision. This is the path of becoming. And every time you choose discipline over impulse, you're casting a vote for who you're becoming tomorrow. The journey won't be perfect, but it will be worth it, because freedom doesn't come from feeling nothing. It comes from choosing better. Lust thrives in a chaotic mind. When your thoughts are scattered, when you're constantly distracted, when you numb your discomfort with stimulation, lust sneaks in quietly. It doesn't need an invitation, just an opening. And let's be real, we're surrounded by noise, endless scrolling, overexposed images, quick dopamine hits. It's not just affecting your attention, it's reprogramming your mind. The more you consume, the less control you feel. The more you escape, the more you lose sight of what you're escaping from. So the journey to reclaiming yourself begins with silence, with pulling back from the digital noise and facing the uncomfortable truth of your thoughts. You are not your cravings. You are not what your feed shows you. You are not broken just because you've been tempted. When you create space in your mind, through journaling, meditation, real connection, you give yourself the power to respond instead of react. This is not just mental clarity, it's mental freedom. And without that, lust will always have a seat at the table of your thoughts. One of the cruelest traps of lust is shame. It doesn't just leave you with regret. It convinces you that you're unworthy, that because you've stumbled, you're disqualified from growth, that because you've fallen, you don't deserve to rise. But listen carefully. You are not your mistakes. You are not the sum of your lowest moments. You are the story of how you rise from them. To truly take control over lust, you have to break up with shame, not by pretending nothing happened, but by owning it, learning from it, and then letting it go. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means releasing yourself from the prison of self-hatred. You can't grow into your higher self while dragging around chains of guilt. So breathe, acknowledge where you've been, and choose today to walk forward lighter. You'll slip again, that's okay. But when you do, remember this. You're not starting from zero. You're continuing from experience, and experience, combined with grace, becomes wisdom. That wisdom will lead you out of the cycle and into the life you were always meant to live. Here's the hard truth. Lust often shows up when we're trying to avoid something else. Loneliness, stress, boredom, insecurity. And instead of sitting with those feelings, we reach for the nearest escape. Lust becomes a convenient exit, but real growth begins when you choose to stay, to sit in your discomfort and ask yourself, what am I really feeling? It might be emptiness. It might be fear. It might be the aching desire to feel wanted, just for a moment. And that's okay. That's human. But escaping it won't heal it. You don't need another distraction. You need to be seen by yourself. Learning to sit with discomfort is like building a muscle. At first, it hurts, but over time, it becomes strength. You realize that not every craving needs to be satisfied. Not every itch needs to be scratched. And in that space, you gain something far more powerful than pleasure, control, clarity, and peace. When you stop running from your feelings, you start reclaiming your power. This may surprise you. Lust by itself isn't evil. It's a misplaced expression of a deeper hunger, a hunger for passion, for direction, for meaning. When you live without purpose, lust fills the void, because when your days feel meaningless, your mind craves intensity, and lust delivers that quick, cheap, and empty. But when you're on fire with purpose, you don't have time to be ruled by lust, not because you've killed desire, but because you've redirected it toward something bigger, something real. Find a purpose that demands your focus, work that excites you, a mission that stretches you, a vision that wakes you up with conviction. Lust loses its grip when you're too busy becoming who you were meant to be. So don't just fight lust, outgrow it. Level up your life to the point where lust feels beneath your calling. And every time you choose discipline, you're not just avoiding temptation. You're proving to yourself that you are no longer a prisoner to your impulses. You are building a life that lust cannot dominate, a life led by purpose, rooted in peace, and driven by something eternal. The path to mastering lust is not a simple one, nor is it a destination you reach overnight. It's a journey, a slow, deliberate transformation that requires you to rebuild your relationship with your body, mind, and desires. It's about aligning your actions with your highest values and refusing to settle for fleeting pleasure when something deeper calls to you. The late Dr. 𝒂𝒏 Peck, in his timeless work The Road Less Traveled, reminds us that life is difficult and that truth becomes the foundation of personal growth. Every choice you make, every moment of restraint, is a victory against the automatic impulses that so often control our behavior. It is in those moments of discomfort, when temptation feels overwhelming, that true growth is born. One of the greatest traps of modern life is the illusion of instant gratification. We're constantly conditioned to want things now: pleasure, entertainment, comfort. But true fulfillment comes not from immediate indulgence, but from the courage to say no, and the wisdom to wait for what truly nourishes the soul. In The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer, we're reminded that surrendering to the flow of life and releasing our attachment to outcomes can lead to profound freedom. When we let go of the need for instant pleasure, we open the door to deeper satisfaction, the kind that lasts, that transforms us. But this transformation is not easy. It requires discipline, the kind of discipline that doesn't come from willpower alone, but from a deep, intrinsic understanding of your own worth and the belief that you are worthy of more than what momentary lust can offer. This is the message in Atomic Habits by James Clear. Small, consistent changes lead to a life of extraordinary results. The first step is making the decision to choose differently, and then, every day, choosing again. You have the power to rewrite your story. Lust doesn't define you. Your choices do. You are not at the mercy of your impulses. You are in control of your life, your body, your future. Every time you make a choice that aligns with your higher self, you become more of the person you're meant to be. But above all, remember this: you are worthy. Worthy of deep, authentic connection, of lasting love, and of peace that doesn't come with a price tag. You are more than your desires, and the person you're becoming through this journey is the person who will one day look back and feel nothing but pride at the strength and self-love you've cultivated. If this message resonated with you, if you're ready to take control of your life and break free from the chains of lust, it's time to take action. Don't just let this video be a moment of inspiration. Let it be the spark that ignites your transformation. Hit that like button if you believe in your ability to grow and change. Subscribe to this channel for more content that empowers you to become your best self. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video with them, because we're all in this together. Lastly, in the comments below, tell me about your journey. What steps are you taking to regain control? How are you choosing discipline over desire today? Let's create a community of accountability, support, and growth. You've got this. Keep fighting the good fight.